What's up, and everyone, and welcome back to Tide Talk, the Rhode Island FC podcast that's for the fans, by the fans. I'm your host, Matt, and whether you're a day one sicker or new to RIFC, you found your home. Every episode, we're breaking down the latest from Rhode Island FC, the matches, the moments, the players, and everything happening in and around the club. Before we dive in, make sure you're following Tide Talk across all of our social media accounts. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok, and everywhere else you scroll. Stay locked in for updates, exclusive contents, and all things Rhode Island FC. If you're joining us on YouTube, please say hi in that chat and smash that like button if you haven't already. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, please take a second to like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star rating and review, as it helps us grow and bring you even better content each and every week. All right, let's cozy up. Crack beer. Ooh. Dive into this one. Unfortunately, we're here to talk yet another RIFC Road USL Championship loss. As always, I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Ryan Healy. Ryan, how's your weekend going, buddy?
Was good except for last night, but yeah, overall can't complain. I mean, right now in the newborn phase, it kind of just feels like it's a Groundhog Day a little bit. So yeah, excited to, I guess, talk about a different game, which kind of was like all the other games so far, but we'll get into that. How's your
For
weekend?
sure. Yeah, pretty good. Graham had his last indoor game today, so made the trip to Treehouse always a fun time. But just a night kind of ruined by RAFC on Saturday, and we'll talk plenty about that. Again, the chat's always active, so make sure you say hi to us in the chat, and we'll get your comments up on screen and interact with us throughout the show. All right, Ryan, we'll dive right in. There's no sense stalling or delaying this one. And we'll start with a pretty big announcement that we have. Our lovely day for Rhode Island FC shirts are in. If you're making the trip to the match on Wednesday versus Hartford, not an April Fool's. It will be the first time you can pick those shirts up. You can find us in the lot. If you're not going, then you can pick it up on the next home game as well. We'll have it there. And if you ordered and are looking to get it shipped, we'll get those out to you probably by the end of the week. So, no, thank you to everyone who ordered. If you haven't ordered yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. There's only a few sizes left, and we will have those for sale in the lot pregame as well. Or if you'd like it shipped, you can reach out to us on any of our socials, send us a DM, and we'll get you squared away with one of these great shirts by our friend Tom Butts, and just an absolutely killer design.
I mean, I have to ask, you're the only one who's seen them in person so far. How are we looking?
I actually have not seen them in person
Oh,
yet. Robin Front friend Chris Aldridge picked them up for us, so he's got them. He's got the shipment. I've only seen the pictures of them in person,
yeah.
and they look pretty hot. They look pretty good. I'm pretty excited.
I mean, as always, shout out to Ruben Front. That's always and forever there.
That's it. I do like Andrew Milko's comment in the chat. RAFC is also currently in the toddler phase.
I would love to say that, but are you allowed to be in the toddler phase at year 3? Are we going through the terrible twos? Like, what? I don't know. I know there's all these different phases that I'm going to go through.
True.
So
we're not fully year 3. So I mean, it's year 3, but we're not. You know what I mean? I guess we have to finish this year to be 3.
So terrible twos.
So, terrible twos. We'll order it. Chris P says he forgot to order XL. Please come find us. We'll hook you up. We'll take care of you, Chris. All right. So let's look ahead to the starting 11 in this one. I think it kind of picked itself based on who was available. I don't know who that is in goal. Do you?
Oh, wow. So, I mean, this was yet another ESPN Plus production that I'm sure we're about to talk about. I actually didn't even notice this because there were so many other issues with the entire production. So to, kind of, I mean, this isn't completely off on Koke's name, but I mean, it's just, again, it's just so poor and low quality.
Yeah, let's start there before we go through the actual full 11 and the roughly 20-minute delay, maybe more than that. I switched over to VPN and put it on YouTube to actually get it on, because we had just gotten home from a lovely day out, and the delay was killing me. The loading screen still on. Your event is about to start soon. It didn't. It just kept going and going. But just another absolute poor production by ESPN in the USL Championship.
Yeah, I mean, the only positive was it was extremely calming. Like, the music that they play with it is just this like nice wind or whatever, but wasn't great as we were seeing like the actual like Fat Mob is like, hey, the match kicked off, and you're like, oh god, I can't see it. And also really convenient that you could not see the protest yet again. Which going back and watching a bit of this game on the rewatch, they also didn't show it if you were watching the game. They just kind of cut to the stands, didn't show what the players were doing. They also just continued that in the second half. So not sure if that was directed by the league or what's going on there, but again, just pretty amateur stuff from a league that is trying with big ambitions. And obviously they don't control the full broadcast, but it is what people are experiencing with their league and their product. So there also were not that many people at this game anyway to experience this in person. So pretty just I would say a tough night for the USL and like kind of like showing the quality of the league when this is what they're showing to the world.
Yep, and we have internet sleuth Matt Hands in the house in the chat. Koke's actual name is Jorge Ruiz Ojeda.
That's why I said it wasn't a full goof.
But it wasn't a full goof, but it was the spelling error. So that's why we still have to knock ESPN in the broadcast whenever we can. So thank you to Hands for getting the right information to us in the chat. And thank you to Hands and Timmy for their great blogs and getting them out quick. Not an easy one to write about for sure. But like I said, I think this one kind of picked itself. Koke and Net, Yao, Stoneman, Nodarse, Scardina and Sanchez, Holstead, Baccarat, Pity, Dorsey, and Afonso. Any surprises for you or pretty par for the course?
No, I think you nailed it with kind of with who was available. I think the only people we had been looking out for was Giop if he was going to be healthy. Great to see him on the bench. We did also see the return of Noah Fuson on the bench. But other than that, like between Amos and Zachary Harival being hurt, I think the midfield two are kind of picked, which we'll have to probably talk a bit more about after this. With the kind of outcome of this game that we'll get to. But yeah, overall, wasn't like mad about it. I think the only one I might have done was instead of Dorsey, pick Noah, but Noah's in the doghouse a bit, right? Of course, but I also think I was justified in that thinking as well, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so I think we're going to talk about that midfield. You mentioned Harival and Amos in the injury report, and that's going to be big, kind of looking at Hartford and looking at the next couple of matches with how things kind of rotate and play out. But early thoughts on how this one started out, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of sloppy. I think it was Craig who mentioned it. Like the pitch was really weird in this one. I think we kind of saw it right away. Like I don't think the players adjusted immediately to like how kind of like slow. It seemed like I think Craig said it. They put just too many of those rubber pellets down, and like it just like was. It seemed very like unwieldy in terms of like what the ball was going to do. Like they go long and it would die. Short
and
passes.
They did mention on the broadcast that it was a newer or redone surface as well.
Yeah, so clearly, like I don't think adjusted super well to it, but I mean, immediately it was like we had a lot of possession, kind of part of the course. It wasn't a game that I don't think started off with any sort of kind of fluidity or danger right away.
Right, I think it was kind of back and forth a little bit. No real clear threats. I think Miami kind of had maybe the best early chance on in this one. But RIFC, again, I mentioned it after the last match, really kind of struggled to get a foothold in that midfield and string together some passes amongst the midfielders. And I think that was kind of a common trend or theme throughout this one.
Yep.
All right, so we'll take a look at the first goal as Miami got it started in the 22nd with that goal from Roca.
But on the move, Messi pushes this ball over the right-hand side. Calfo all the way back out. Tunbridge lets it rip off the left board. It stays out for the time being. The rebound is in. Rocha having another impact like he did on Wednesday night, and Miami gets the first goal of this contest, 1-0.
We mentioned Tunbridge a couple of times. Look at this audacious attempt that he tries outside of the foot.
So first off, like the commentator mentions, that outside of the football in, just a hell of a hit that pretty much beat Koke. Unlucky to hit the post on that first time. I thought the initial cross was overcooked and going out of bounds anyway, and I think RFC defenders thought that as well, as they were kind of stuck in the mud on this one. But we've seen time and time again where we allow opposing teams to have way too much time on the ball to be able to deliver that cross uncontested. And then there's some spillage, my favorite word, or a ball off the post. And, defenders are caught watching and caught kind of sitting in place. And we see that again on this one.
Yeah, I think you really nailed it. Like the big thing that jumps out at me when I watch this is like very kind of lazy, very like jogging over to cut down to shut down on the guy who is about to cross the ball. From honestly both, like I think Aldair really thought it was going out. At least he does get back to him. I thought Hugo was very kind of lax getting over to the guy. Obviously, a really fantastic Travella getting that up and over, hitting the post, and then from there, I think we've seen this a few times this year where like there is that spillage in the box, but like, with it being March Madness, I would love if, Kano and his team kind of showed our center backs like what boxing out is, because I just feel like they ball watch and then just like they don't keep on their guy. And as we see there, the guy is somehow able to beat both Koke and Yao to that ball. So yeah, there's a level of intensity I think on defense we're not showing right now between our center backs, which unfortunately is a big change. I'm not hitting the panic button yet, because this was a team that was really, really fantastic on defense last year. But there's just something off right now, and I hope they can refine the groove that they got into last year soon.
And I also think it's interesting because after the Sporting Jacks game, we both gave Koke and Frank their flower. I'm sorry, Karifa and Frank their
Yeah.
flowers. They played absolutely amazing in that. But in the last 2 or 3, we've seen just a huge drop off and almost a lack of intensity at times.
Yeah, I mean, I too am blaming us here. That's at the end of the day, we have to be held accountable for our actions, which includes giving people praise on this podcast. So that's our bad, everybody.
I don't know if it's us. It could be Big Chicken. It could be back to Big Chicken.
We always have to, at the end of the day, like that is who we always have to keep in mind, because as you'll see in the halftime graphic here, 3 corners in the first half, and boy, oh boy, I think we got a header to one of them. So that was improvement, but I don't know that we ever looked like scoring here.
All right, so 54% possession for RIFC to 46 to Miami. We outshot Miami 9-4, 3 on target to their 1, 2 big chances to their 1. We completed 83% of passing, 81% for Miami, 8 fouls to 6, and the 3 corners. Any other big overarching thoughts on that first half performance, Ryan?
No, I mean, the only thing, like, obviously going into halftime 1-0 was disappointing. I did think, as the stats here say, I think we did have the probably better of the half in terms of both possession, but we seemed like we kind of came out on the front foot in terms of getting shots off. We did create a couple of chances. I really thought Pity was going to score. He actually had, I was writing it down, I think the first 4 or 5 shots of RIFC were all Pity. So he really came out like kind of a man on a mission to try to get this one over the line. And he had a couple of those chances. The one that really sticks out to me was the one that really squeaked by the bar. And I actually think that was like literally a minute or 2 before Roca scores. So it's kind of always how it works, right? It's like you miss a chance by an inch and they end up scoring because of an inch. So it's just really, really frustrating.
You must know all about that. He came in looking to attack. That one you said that just went by the bar, tight angle, but
yeah.
Kind of hope he did a little bit better on that one.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I said to some internet trolls when I said that Pity had a really good half was like, I'm just happy he's willing to take those shots with his left foot. We've seen many people on this team shy away from taking those chances with their weak foot, and I like that he's not shying away, even though he's kind of not in his most comfortable position. So at the end of the day, like I felt was the one who was trying to will this game and trying to will this win into existence. And I just appreciated the fight, and I like that he was really trying to get the ball in the back of the net.
For sure. Irvin will tell you it's that South American flair coming in, and you have
that
to.
That does not sound like something Irvin would say. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I'll chalk it up to that. But Miami got back on the board just 5 minutes into the second half. So let's take a look at the goal that put them up 2-0.
For Miami FC. Speaking of that, Ndongo here, he lets it rip, and he scores! Ndongo out of nowhere settled things down and put himself on a tee, let that thing rip, and Miami early in the second half has extended their lead to 2.
Well, he's young, he's naive, and he pays off.
So one of my biggest pet peeves is conceding a goal last 5 minutes of a half, first 5 minutes of a half. You talked about Code Red on the last episode, with conceding after scoring a goal. This is one of them for me as well. Ndongo, great touch, great ball in from Rocha, and just a great finish. If you were Ndongo there, seeing how he played all of 21, 22 minutes for LNFC, would you celebrate that goal, Ryan?
So Kevin's saying in the chat that he got me good. He did not get me good because I've watched this clip a bunch of times today because I put it into the slides and stuff. Him not celebrating is so funny to me. I don't know. Like, I think it kind of depends who you are. Like, if he, because like we don't know much about how he left or why he left. So I would say if like he thinks that like we did him a solid and let him go down to Miami to get like minutes, then great. Like maybe that's why he saw it was kind of like a like nod to us of like, hey, thanks for the solid, like bringing me over, get me in the league and moving me on. But he also could play the villain of like I was forced out and look at me now, which we've seen some players do in the world. So you know, he had those two opportunities. I love that he just immediately was hands up, like I'm not celebrating, guys. Especially like you said, for a guy who played like 20 something minutes. But it had to be him. It was the Ndongo revenge game, which is great leading into the Maxi revenge game we get next week if he's not hurt.
If you go to our Andrew Quadras' blog with our pregame predictions, I booked a brace for Maxi on that one, so we'll see what happens. But Hans says we were the team that brought him to the U.S. I think Hans said last night on the Quahog Corner that he was in like the Bangladeshi league or whatever it might have been, and RIFC was the one that brought him in. I don't know. I think I'd celebrate it. That was a hell of a hit. I give him a lot of credit on that. But I think kind of going back to that first goal in this one, it's another example of giving the opposing players too much time on the ball to deliver a good ball into a dangerous area.
Do you think we all right, this is going to be mean. It's probably going to lead into like what we're going to talk about later. Like we can't really score like from these when we have like time or space or anything like that. Like, do you think like at practice we're just so used to like our guys not scoring that we're like very chill about it when the other team gets the ball in real life games? Like we're kind of practicing how we play or playing how we practice, whatever you want to say there.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I mean, you have to act like you've done it before, but for a team that hasn't really done it all of last season, and you know, we have scored in every game this season so far, so you know that is a positive. And we'll talk about
then it must be going well, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that that debate as we go on a little bit later. But you know, it's just I don't even know how to put that one into words. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, to what you said in the beginning here, like, you know, going into halftime down 1-0, you can feel a little hard done by if you're RIFC. Like, I think we did have the better of the first half, but to then immediately go and go down 2-0, like, it just screams of like a lack of focus, a lack of intensity, and a lack of like intent to start the half, because really we should have been the team that came out on the front foot making something happen, and you got to go put yourself in that 2-0 hole. Like now it's like a huge uphill battle, especially when it's a pretty short bench. Like there's not a ton of guys out there. Like, you know, I'm sure Clay and Hugo, when they started the game, kind of knew in the back of their head, like we kind of have to go 90, even though it looks like, I don't know that Hugo is in 90-minute shape right now. So it's just like, it's really tough because there's not a lot to change the game on the bench, especially with JJ out, and then as well as Kano. So yeah, I just think this was really worst case scenario.
You mean the AirPods didn't do enough to get Kano's message delivered?
I hate that so much.
Oh, man. Hans has a good one in the chat. Felipe revenge game. Miami keeper Felipe Rodriguez, who was in between the sticks at Bern for that 8-1 drubbing in season 1. Looked like prime Buffon last night. He made some really decent saves.
He did. I had a take on the Quahog Corner last night that I think like he's a pretty short guy, and I'm allowed to say that. So I think it's like when Nate Robinson won the dunk contest, like it just looks way more spectacular because he's so short. Like when a center is doing like dunks and tricks, like it doesn't look that cool. But like when someone who's like, you know, 5'9" is dunking, it looks amazing. So I think he has a little bit of that where like it looks a little bit more spectacular than it really would if like, you know, Eric Dick or Schutler or whatever the guy's name was on Indy, who was like 6'7". Like if they were doing the same thing, it wouldn't look that impressive.
I get that.
Yeah,
it's like to
Kevin's point. Shout out to the Short Kings.
Shout out to the Short Kings. It took just 15 minutes for Rhode Island FC to actually get back on the board and make this one into more of a game with probably about a half an hour left with stoppage time. So let's take a look at the RFC goal as Busy makes an instant impact on his substitute appearance.
Fourth match cross competition. Third match, I beg your pardon. Atkinson. Company on the prowl. That crossing attempt left all alone. That shot finds the back of the net. And it's a 1-goal lead now for Miami as Atkinson gets himself on the board.
Well, the Jamaican Youth International didn't waste any time. The ball in from Noah Fusion was picture perfect. All the traffic, David, ran towards the goal. He put the ball behind the traffic. And Atkinson, what about this finish? Yes, I know he was open.
Good things happen when you put the ball into the box, Ryan. Noah puts a very nice cross in, gets deflected, spillage off the cross, and Busy's first touch of the game leads to a goal that makes it 2-1 at the time.
Listen, there was a point last year where a certain podcaster was saying, man, oh man, would Jojea Quizera on the right and Noah Fuson on the left be an amazing attacking pair? And we saw the wonder goal from Jojea last week on the right and a great assist from Noah on the left. Listen, guys, like this is the good stuff. But it is it is a nice goal. The thing I hate most about this is like I need someone to fight a little bit more for the ball, getting that out of the net and getting it back to half. Like that's the move to kind of set the tone there, and I really need someone to fight there. But great finish by Busy, especially he hasn't been playing much this season, and I think there's a lot of questions on like where does he fit, especially with the system that we're playing now. So for him to, I think literally his first touch to bury that one, really appreciated it. My favorite thing was about 1 minute maybe after this. He did the kind of heat check of all time where he just shot it from the parking lot. And I think it might have went into the parking lot from how off it was, which is hard to do at a massive stadium. But that was unbelievably funny from Busy. But yeah, shout out to him. That was a great goal.
Hey, you miss 100% of shots you don't take.
Also need to shout out Leo Afonso. I thought really nice pass out to Noah to kind of get this one started. I think he has a really interesting role to play this year. I think that he's a similar kind of 9.5 kind of could be a creative 10, could be a striker, similar to Noah. And I do think that's going to be an interesting battle to watch all year to see kind of who kind of takes that. But I did think though when he's able to get more involved, and I think kind of the way that him and Dorsey were used throughout the game was really weird because a lot more of the time you saw Dorsey as the kind of deeper of the two strikers. And I was like, why would we change that up? Like Dorsey should be more up top with
the pressing
Leo
forward.
Yeah, so that was really strange because I think Leo really thrives so far in this kind of like 9.5 role where he can both create and get on the end of things. And he didn't get on the score sheet either a goal or assist this game, but I think he, as well as Pity, I think had kind of two of the more standout performances from RIFC.
Yeah, I was going to follow up with 2 questions on that one. And, Leo has been our top-rated player on FOTMob for the season so far, top-rated player last night. Do you think he was the best player on the pitch for RIFC?
I would say like throughout the course of the match, yes. At the same time, like I would say it's hard because I really think Pity, especially that first 25 minutes, really had a huge impact.
Sure, good shout.
But I think like again, consistently throughout the match, I also have to give him a shout. Like the keeper, I can't remember his name, was doing keepy uppies in the box. Again, it was like only like the 70th minute, which I thought like this game felt over. Or was being played as if it was over, like way too early in this one. Yeah, Felipe. So for those who may have not watched the match or may have forgotten, there's a point towards the end of the second half where the ball gets kind of kicked back to the Miami keeper, and he starts just kind of doing like juggling and like he's like heading the ball around to himself and stuff like that, really showboating. And Leo goes over and just kind of shoves him, which I think was A+ stuff by Leo. We both like texted each other. We're like, hell yeah, like thank you, like have some pride.
Yeah, so I love that little bit of shithousery and, like you said, having some pride, fighting for the badge. But I got to call you out because you were big on the discipline stuff last week, but you're okay with that yellow card?
Oh no, that's like a professional team foul. Like that is what you should be doing. You should not be, I said it in the Discord, like the Defiance Discord, like JJ, he's a great striker. His fatal flaw is that he doesn't know where to put his hands when he's pushing somebody. Like doing a correct foul on the keeper, like that is a yellow I will applaud all day, every day. Okay. Yellows I don't have a problem with. It's the reds I have the issue with.
We're in agreement on that one for sure. My other question is, Noah kind of coming back out of the doghouse on this one also could have been a candidate to kind of play like a false 9 role for this one. In the limited action we've seen from Dorsey, obviously he had the goal on opening day, and people are super high on Dorsey and saying like, wow, he's going to be a great scorer. I'm not a fan of him as a starter. I think him coming off the bench is a much better burst for him. And, that pressing he provides, I think he's a really good spark, but I think he looked much different in the starting 11 than we've seen in his substitute appearances. And you could even go back to the File Ends game for that as well, for, 2 games of a pattern there.
I mean, I felt confident enough in my take that I think I tweeted it in like the 32nd minute that I just would like him to be off for Noah at halftime. Like I really thought him and Leo were kind of an odd pairing. I also it felt like we were really getting overrun in midfield, and I'm like, bring in Noah who can kind of float and give you more of a presence there. And I think we did see like immediately once Noah came in, he was able to find spaces that I think Dorsey and Leo to an extent were having either trouble accessing or were kind of like they were really standing on top of each other a lot. And I don't feel like there was a lot of flow to their game. And I really felt like, yeah, I don't really understand why there was no change at halftime because I don't know his stats, but I feel like at halftime Dorsey might have had 10 touches, if that. And I just was not working at all. So especially when you're down 1-0 and then to go down 2-0, that I felt like that change needed to happen faster.
Right. I know we saw a lot of love for him after the opening goal in the Defiance Discord, and I just think it was ooh, he scored, shiny new toy. But I think if you kind of watch his game, and this one being very different with JJ out and kind of things picking, but I think you saw that Leo and Noah link up that led to that cross and led to the busy goal, and I think those two would have functioned really well together versus, like you mentioned, the way that Leo and Dorsey functioned together.
Yeah, and listen, we have to say, like, Dorsey, young player playing in MLS Next, like, this is a step up for him. So it isn't surprising that he's not coming in and like immediately putting a stamp on this league. Especially when, again, comparing him to someone like Noah, who, again, golden playmaker. You can have all the caveats you want on that. I know some people have some. Someone who has had an impact on this team throughout multiple seasons. So I just don't. I don't see how, like, at this point, I understand he kind of had the benching or not even benching, the kind of exclusion from the squad for whatever reason. We still like don't know why. But I hope that at some point we can see Noah start to get a run of games because I think he's had 2 good cameo appearances so far. And at the end of the day, like you only can show what you're able to show. Like when you're given time, like you have to make the most of it. And I think so far he's been proven to make the most of his time where I don't know that we're seeing that from everybody.
Yeah, I think that obviously a bunch of new players coming in, some new signings. It takes time to gel. I think some of them have, but it's going to take reps. And like Sean says, it does not seem good, and it doesn't. It looked really, really rough last night. And despite other people telling you that just because we beat this team 8-1 2 years ago, we should have won that game last night, I think is an absolutely unfathomable take, like absolutely ridiculous. When Ryan, you're quick to call out, they beat us at home last year. This is a Miami team that's up on the rise of late. The broadcast kept referring to their manager as Pep Guardiola-esque, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous.
The broadcast, I have to just, again, like we talked about how like production quality was a clown show. I cannot stand these broadcasters. Like
we get stuck with the same 2 guys every time too. So it's just
the guy on the color commentator, like just doesn't know what he's talking about for any of these teams. And like, I'm very over it at this point. I would say though, just to almost backtrack from the credit you're giving me, like I don't think we should have lost to them at home last year. Like we really should have beaten the team last night and at home last year. Like there's no reason they ended up being dead last in the league last year again. So
the game that was the game Hamid stood on his head, right?
Yeah,
Hamid, yeah.
Like it was one of those ones where like we should have won the game. Either way, it was a horrible loss. Like genuinely, when you look back on the season, you're like, how did that even happen? I think Jacksonville, we're going to say the same thing at the end of the season. They're just absolutely getting smoked right now by everybody but RIFC. And
only team below us in the table.
You'll never sing that. But I don't know. I'm very not. I do think this team looks better than they have the past 2 years that we've been in this league. But I'm not gonna sit here and I wouldn't bet on them to be like even in the home playoff contention. I think maybe fringe playoff.
Right. Timmy asks, "Is Miami on the rise or are we on the fall?" I think it's both. Why not both?
Sure.
One thing to kind of backtrack a little bit as well was in talking about the broadcast kind of started back up for me was starting the second half. They showed the protest, and one of the comments is actually said the players are, I don't know if it was participating was the word he used, and then it immediately cuts to silence and pans to the crowd. So they wanted to talk about it. He was starting to talk about it, and then the producer must have just smashed that mute button and took that moment away from him.
It's like, when people get riled up on the call hog corner and Kevin just smashes that mute button. Again, not a good look for the league. I don't really have much more to say. Like, it's just, for a league with a lot of ambition, I think they are just not acting with the level of professionalism that I would expect.
That's it. Things went, after that goal, I think we looked pretty dangerous. We were looking
Mhm.
on the attack. Noah had some good link ups. But then in the 80th minute, we saw the Hugo Baccarat red card. And I think we went from really having a chance to get out of there with a point to, shit, we're going to have to tuck our tail and, try not to concede another goal.
Yeah, I think there's a video.
Do I have the video there?
You do have it, yes.
There it is.
Harsh contact. Costa grabs a right leg, and he's in some agony too. Baccarat, he's going to see red immediately. Wow.
And that's going to take some of the momentum away. This Rhode Island team was pinning Miami back in.
So gets there late, comes in with the high boot. Interesting how this all went down because the ref pulled out the second yellow card. Hugo was already on a yellow at this point. Never shows it, shows the red. It's logged in on a lot of stat websites as just a red. But still, Hugo getting there late. We'll talk kind of about his performance as well in a little bit. Just something you can't afford to have happen when you're knocking out the door and really trying to, like I said, escape Miami with a point.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I actually, for a lot of the second half, was like, we can still win this game. Like, there's no reason we can't win this game. Like, we looked like the better team for most of it. It's really unfortunate. Like, I don't blame Hugo for this. Like, he just doesn't see the guy. He brings his foot up, gets it. It absolutely is a yellow, and he unfortunately deserved to be sent off. But I don't think it was anything malicious. It just was a lot of like, to Chris P's point in the chat, like, Hugo, like, it just seems like he's just like a step or a half step off. Like, we've seen him get dispossessed a few times early this season, like with just some like kind of thinking he has an extra second or two when which might also just be a communication thing where people aren't telling him that someone's closing down in on him. But it is it's been tough to kind of see him not be the player that we all remember from the end of last season, who was like kind of running the midfield by himself, to someone who you can kind of see struggling. And especially, in this, like, I don't know, he kind of had no option to not go 90 minutes, and it doesn't look like he's in 90-minute shape. We don't know if there was an injury in the offseason that kind of hampered his, getting ready, but he really has been forced into the limelight he didn't start the first game, so clearly something was going on. But, with Harava's injury, with Amos's injury, shipping Maxi away to the Shadow Realm, like, it's kind of like we need him, and it's really an unfortunate timing to get this yellow. I think the thing that with the second yellow versus red debate, I always am like very worried about that. When I have to remember this league, it doesn't matter. It's just a 1-game suspension either way. So
right.
Yeah.
You mentioned it. Timmy mentions it in the chat, and worth noting, clearly speculation. There's no, fact behind this, but
there's no reporting on anything. Does anyone know what's going on with Amos? I have no idea.
Nah, and I saw him. I should have asked him, but it does look like Hugo started the season with a knock, like you mentioned, not starting in that first game, and then just hasn't been what we've seen from that player that we saw all of last season, and then when he came on, that we all kind of fell in love with, and was like, this is the guy that's going to make our midfield solid.
Yeah, so maybe he'll get a little bit of a breather now with the league game off, but I'm actually assuming this now means especially he'll be starting on Wednesday. So we need kind of some health to get back stat, but I also am a little worried just in terms of depth, like throughout the season. Like, it's not like absolutely love Haravo, one of my favorite players to watch, but like is not the beacon of health ever. Like,
reliability,
availability. I think you kind of have to almost assume he's going to miss a good amount of time. So to have like him being like one of your almost 3 cogs for 2 positions, Amos like has been pretty healthy, but he also missed the entire first season with an injury. Like, so it's really tough looking at the depth at midfield, because after that, the Vang gang is in the chat, and we love Kevin Vang, but we haven't literally never seen him do it in the USL Championship level. And after that, it's tough. Like, imagine if we had a all league first team guy who could step into midfield, who probably could really operate at a kind of deep lying playmaker role and pull some strings. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, like Escateo Mateo says in the chat, really missing Amos right now. Man puts everything into a performance, and it's just that depth of an extra body. I mean, I think even having Clay back in the midfield, a player like Marky Barrow would do bits with him like he did in the first season, just as being that sturdying guy and allowing Clay to roam and be that creative force that he can be.
Yeah, I mean, it is wild. Like the fact that like Clay wasn't even playing midfield last year because we had so many midfielders, and now it's like he's currently the only like available starting 11 midfielder probably for Saturday. Like what a turn of events. Like
Right.
did we beat the drum of the Clay Holstead center mid too hard? Like did we did we make it so that it's like we could just completely rely on him 100%? Because the poor guy's out
Well, I
there
mean,
with like a broken hand and
yeah,
is doing his best.
he's there, but there's the lack of bodies there with him, I think, is one of the bigger issues right now. Like somebody said earlier in the chat, we went from midfield FC to barely any midfield, and definitely not having the options to fill in when red cards and injuries accumulate.
And to address the chat, yes, I was talking about Maxi Rodriguez. Someday I will let that go.
I don't know. I don't know. Full-time stats for this one. Jacksonville with a 1.78 XG to 1.82 for RAFC. I'm sorry, Miami. RAFC outpossessed Miami 59 to 41%. Outshot 20-9, 7-5 with shots on target. Both teams with 2 big chances. RAFC with 80% passing accuracy, 19 fouls for Miami, 16 to Rhode Island, and 6 corners to 0. The man of the match was Arnie Rocha for Miami FC with an 8.6 with the goal and the assist. Just a troubling performance here in Miami. Dale.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I don't think the thing about the season so far is I don't think we've played bad. I don't think we played horribly. But at the end of the day, like again, points in March matter just as much in points in August, September, October. And for us to go the entire month of March, which we'll talk about in a second, like with 1 point through a couple of tough matches like this. And the other side of this too is like there was so much talk, like we had 20 shots, so we're improving. It's like the XG battle was pretty tight even there. So it's just really difficult to be overly excited about this when it's just these haven't been like performances that you look back on, you're like, we 100% should have won these games. Like maybe Jacksonville so far, but I would say both Louisville and this one are both totally fine.
Yeah, just tough, just not good stuff. But I think we'll talk about the whole getting shots debate and the quality of the shots we're getting. But if you look at that 20 shots and 1.82 XG, I think that's kind of where the trouble lies. We are shooting more, which is good to see for Rhode Island FC fans, but we're not getting the quality of shots that's going to lead us to more conversions. And I think that's a big piece that will kind of go with things as we go.
And I say I'm burying the lead here. There are slides, folks.
There are slides. Before we hit to the in focus, let's hit to the socials. RIFC in 3 and good, bad, and ugly. It could have been ugly, like you mentioned to somebody in one of the comments. But we'll start in the Defiant 1636 Discord with Mike M. RIFC in 3, a new low. Is it, Ryan? Do you think this is a new low? Because I still think we can go lower.
I will never forget the feeling I had after the Hartford match away last season. Like that was the lowest I've ever felt, and we are not there yet.
Sure. Mike's good was the game ended. Bad defense, offense, midfield, and coaching. Ugly. This is only game 3, folks. Buckle up. Our friend Leo had good substitutes immediately combining for our lone goal. Bad, the return of the slow, calculated buildup that ended in a lot of errant long balls or bad passes. Ugly, the lack of discipline showing 2 weeks in a row. RIFC in 3, somebody step up. We also had Chad M with good. Busy Berries one right off the bench. Bad, the return of the backwards pass. Ugly, playing like a second-rate high school team. Passes to nowhere. RIFC in 3, red card blues. Dave Audette had good, not a shutout. Bad, lack of winning, wanting the goal. Ugly, the curse of the white kits. Ryan, is the wave kit cursed? I've seen a lot of this on social media of late and in chatter amongst the RIFC community.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know that we have a lot of evidence that it's not cursed at this point. Like it's not going well, is all I'm going to say.
I think Andrew Gomes might have to sage the wave kit. If he gets some sage on that bad boy, we might be able to turn things around with it.
Andrew Gomes, if you're listening, and if you're back from wherever the hell you've been, please get in touch.
Sticker slapping like crazy.
Sticker slap, putting in an absolute shift wherever he's been. But please get in touch. I have a very fun idea.
Oh, okay. I like that. Andrew, you know how to get a hold of us. Joe Burns in the chat says it is 100% cursed, and Sarah says the saging is needed. So continuing in the Defiance Discord, Andrew Milko had good, busy, bad, the match, ugly, my mental well-being. It was a day ruiner for sure.
Matt, to your point, I have to pull up Timmy's comment here about the kits. Like, he's correct that every kit is actually very bad over the past calendar year, so it's hard to actually say.
All right, so it could just be
Andrew, point still stands. Actually, have even bigger idea now.
Perfect. And Andrew Milko's RIFC in 3 is Et tu Matthew. I like that one. That is
genuinely could be the episode title. It's excellent.
Top notch. Also in the Defiant 1636 Discord, Taris with good. We have scored in every game so far. Not wrong. Bad. Where is the defense? Definitely a drop off, like we talked about a little earlier. Ugly. RIFC has never won a league game in March in its history. So March Madness continues. I think that was a great slide. You had a couple episodes back, Ryan. And RIFC in 3, another slow start. Tyler, good. Shout out the away support. You definitely heard some RIFC chants throughout that one. Bad defense, ugly. Check the table. RIFC in 3, go beat Sharpford. Front guy had good, still undefeated in cup play this year. There's a positive. We can take that. End the episode now, I guess. Bad, I just checked the schedule and we don't play violins again. Ugly, RIFC locating new and exciting talent and then transferring that talent to the opposition. RIFC at 3, room for improvement. We also had on Twitter our guy Tyler Hatch, RIFC in 3, familiar, undisciplined, embarrassing. Good. Hugo has a week off to get fit, but I think we'll see him in the cup. He would still be cup eligible, correct?
Yeah, that I also get very confused by that because, like, even though they're governed by the same body, I believe he does get to play. And I'm positive that Hans will tell me in the chat if I'm wrong. So
there you go. The chat police, as he was referred to earlier. Tyler's bad with 7 goals conceded across 3 league matches from the league's second best defense a year ago. Ugly, points left on the table against bottom dwellers and another slow start up the tide. FQB, RFC in 3. Jojea played well. Good. Jojea scored 2 goals. Bad. It wasn't for RIFC. Ugly, I was told he was going to start. His good was pity. His bad was RIFC. And ugly is Hugo unavailable for DCFC. Definitely a big miss there for Hugo. On Instagram, we had Alec Vag. We need Vang as his RIFC in 3. Did you think we'd get to that point, Ryan?
I do think there's a better chance we'll see Grant Stillman in midfield if Giap is healthy. I'm sorry to burst everyone's bubble. I know it'd be fun.
Yeah. The legendary 006 can't fucking pass was his RFC in 3. Booth Hill Brewing's RFC in 3 was aye. Another game where they show promise but can't finish. Even more disappointing is this is another slow start to a season. 1 point in 3 games and drifting toward the basement of the table. I mean, come on. Good, staying aggressive on offense. Bad, the inability to finish. Ugly, winless so far in the USL. And we'll head to Facebook where we had Coach Almeida he called this one 2-1 for Miami in our preview episode, or last episode, so I have to give him his flowers there. He also said people have to follow these other clubs and see what's going on with each. I'm saying it now, love me or hate me. I was right last season. I hate to say it. I'm saying it all over again. This is a completely new club style of play. You're going in with the same shit. Isn't going to work this year. 3, not year 1. New game plans and formations. And Oscar Osario had good. Offense looked good. Bad. Game got chippy towards the end. Ugly. Offense apparently can't score goals. RFC in 3. More red cards. And finishing up on Facebook, we had David McHugh Solera. Good. Nothing. Bad this team. Ugly this team. Appreciate the repetition there. David. Ben Grimes had bad defense. Worse. We're supposed to be a defensive team. Worst. Here comes Sharpford. And Rudy Lawrence had tough loss heading into the week with 2 tough games against Hartford and Detroit coming up. They need to get it together. So thanks to everyone who wrote in with their RIFC and 3, along with their good, bad, ugly, or good, bad, worst, any kind of iteration of it. It totally worked and kind of set it off. If you'd like to have your takes shared, make sure you follow us on all of our socials and we'll get them in each and every episode. So it's slide time, Ryan. We're going in focus.
Let's do it.
Let's
All right.
do
So
it.
first up, you alluded to this, but it is March Madness continued, and shout out to, I think it was Joe Burns who or Terrace who shouted this out. But yeah, we have now never won a game in March in our history. We are 4 and 5 in this one, or 5 and 4, whatever. We are currently averaging 0.44 points per game in March, and I don't think I don't know if there's any like mathematicians out there or anything like that, but that's really not the pace you want to start the season. We talked about this when I did the slide either last week or 2 weeks ago, but one of the big things I wanted to see from this team, going into year 3, where there's no, where the new team, there's no new stadium opening. It's just a solid team. They've kept the core for the majority of the past 3 seasons, and really wanted to see them be able to utilize that to start really hot. And that has absolutely not happened. We actually have tied our worst March in history, which we set last year. And boy, oh boy, was that not a good omen for last year. So really difficult to start this way. This team has historically, and it has a short history, but historically done much better towards the kind of end of the summer, early fall, to kind of dig out of the hole that they have built for themselves early in the season. Really hate that we are now on the trajectory that needs to happen again, because teams that we see in this league that are tremendously serious, like a Charleston, a Louisville, even Tampa now this year, they're back and firing. Like, these teams are picking up wins in March because, like I said earlier, 3 points in March counts the exact same as 3 points in October. So there's absolutely no reason for a team with very serious ambitions and holding themselves to a high standard to start this poorly every year.
Do you think this could be kind of an indictment on the way RFC approaches preseason or executes preseason? Are we not doing enough in preseason? This was kind of my shower thought this morning.
I've been thinking about that a lot. I have no way to quantify that, which is
Quantify
why I
it or
haven't.
calculate it, right?
Yeah, that's why I haven't brought it up. But I have to say, you can't look at this slide and think there's not something wrong,
Oh,
because
yeah, because we're seeing a pattern now over the course of 3 seasons, and we've seen a lot of closed door friendlies. We've seen no information on any of these games. It's a constant ride up to Gillette, and whether they're playing the Revs or Revs 2. There's obviously been the Bermuda trips. There's been the IMG Academy stuff, but are we not playing good enough opponents or doing enough in the preseason that is kind of correlating with why we're seeing these results? Obviously, that's just like a total throw out of left field on that one. We don't know what actually goes down all preseason long, but it is a pattern now.
I mean, something's off. This is, again, you're looking at this slide, and I actually would say the theme of these slides is so I think one thing that was really frustrating, and I try really hard before episodes actually to not look at the Defiance Discord or social, because I want to try to think about the game before we talk about it. But one thing I kept seeing was people are this is different, and we bring back last year, and everyone's like, no, it's a new team, it's only small sample size. And my kind of overarching theme is actually most of the stuff we're seeing and we have issues with is not small sample size at this point. It's actually a multi-year problem that just has not been addressed, and I think this is one of the most glaring ones. So clearly something's off. And the weird thing was this year, we, the scuttlebutt we heard coming out of these games was guys, we're scoring goals for fun, blah, blah, blah. All these guys look great, blah, blah, blah. And it's well, there we go. Another March with 1 point. We are tied for dead last in the league with, Monterey, Jacksonville, who never played before, Monterey, who I don't think cares, a bunch of other teams. So it's really, really brutal for, again, a team with what I think is really high ambitions.
So I think too, I believe it was the Louisville match, and we've shit all over the ESPN broadcast enough. So, take it with a grain of salt. But they were on paper, this is the best Rhode Island FC they've had, a team that's been assembled in the 3 seasons. And I didn't think that, kind of looking at this going in. I think there was still a lot of unknowns. I know I got bullied in the chat for my picking them 7th this season in our offseason overview episode. But there was just a lot of unknowns, a lot of question marks, and like you mentioned, we're seeing this trend now, and I think it's pretty disturbing.
Yeah, no, I especially with one thing that honestly, this is not part of the slides, but I actually think our best players so far this season have been people who have never played in Rhode Island before. And I actually think the majority of the underperformance we're seeing right now is the players who have been here, which is kind of scary
I agree.
for all sorts of reasons. And you could actually say, like, even last year, like a lot of the underperformance came from the guys that we really were relying on coming back. So, yeah, another like again worrying trend, and it's something that's season over season at this point.
Right on.
Next
Seeing
up,
red.
yeah, this one's gonna be quick, but we just gotta stop getting red cards. This game we were without Jojea Kozera for international duty, which is fantastic for Jojea. He also really balled out on international duty, which is fantastic. But we also were without JJ Williams, which is reflected here. We also were without Kano Smith, which isn't reflected here. His red cards don't get kind of tallied up here. So yeah, it's just something that it's an own goal, if you want to say it. Like we just have had issues with this, and I think we play a more physical style. We have always been kind of high pressing. We definitely are kind of either mid or upper table in terms of yellow cards. I think year one it was like a constant debate of like, is Clay going to get suspended or not via yellow cards? Like we're a team that tackles hard. We really kick your ass in ways. I actually think year one was much more of that than year two, 2025. But yet again, like we saw the red cards jump and double and all that stuff. And we're currently on the trajectory to go even higher than last year. So I think it's just something that we really need to figure out, especially because a lot of these reds are actually not like the one Hugo got last night. I don't have a huge problem with. It was just like, guys on a yellow card makes a silly play and kind of gets a yellow. It is what it is. But a lot of these reds, like the Connor McGlynn one, we've seen JJ get a couple like this. Like there's been plenty of ones that are just like, I don't know how to say it more eloquently than just being really stupid. And we
Avoidable.
Avoidable is a really lovely word. And I think we need to just clean it up as a team.
That's it. In like a lion, out like a lamb, just as March is meant to be, says Mandrew. Love that one. Good stuff.
And like as you said earlier, like with I think Haraval, like availability is the best ability, and like being unavailable for a red card is the dumbest way to not be available for your team.
Spot on.
All right, folks. So now this is gonna be the longer part of this. So I didn't stick to the 3-slide format. So last season we were told as lowly podcasters, whatever you want to call us, that it's all about performance versus result. So we can't get mad that the team is not getting results because the performances have been good. And I think that
lost perspective on that, right?
We lost perspective. That's what it was. We needed to have perspective. And boy, oh boy, did that never make sense at the time. And it makes even less sense now. So this slide, and I want to apologize, the data visualization on this slide. And also if you're listening to the podcast, this is big time. This is the true slides moment. So pause, come on in to YouTube because I'm going to rely on the screens a lot for this part. But you'll see that like over time, we really have seen like goals for, expected goals against, like all of it has really trended really nicely. Like it all fits. Like it's all like, we've overperformed a little bit, underperformed a little bit, but at the end of the day, and if you look all the way to the right, the points versus expected points are really tightly correlated. So in 2024, Rhode Island FC ended up at 51 points. The expected points was 52. They ended up at 38 points in 2025. Their expected points are 40. Currently, they're on 1 point, expected points 4. Again, that really was extremely dictated by the Jacksonville game. But at the end of the day, like the performance has been the result so far. And it's really hard to argue that like what we're seeing both like with our eyes and with the data is saying anything else but like this team is underperforming. So that is like that's like kind of putting the flag is like so far like performance versus result, like it is not going well. So if we move to the next slide, the big thing, what does this mean? We'll get there. So the big thing, like looking again at goals for versus goals against here. So when we look at goals per game, so year one, we started off really hot. We had 1.7 goals per game. We were 3rd in the league. And that really translated to expected goals. We were 6th in the league in expected goals. Goals against, we were a little bit lower. We were 9th, and expected goals, we were 7th. So we were a team that, like, I think throughout the first season, we really kind of like, we weren't getting results, but we actually, you could see the underlying performance of this team. And for those of you who haven't been around for a bit, expected goals are like statistically the shot the person took, like from the location, from kind of the surrounding information around the goal and all this stuff. Like, what was the likelihood that that ball would go into the net? So that is what expected means. But overall, like year one, we were a really good offense and pretty solid defense. Year two, everything regressed significantly last year. So we were 22nd in goals per game, 22nd in goals against per game. Expected goals per game, but we were 4th in goals against per game and 4th in expected goals against per game. So the offense took an unbelievable setback last season with both the goals per game and expected goals per game being one of the worst in the league. 22nd is 22nd out of 24. But the defense was elite, and that really was what carried us into the playoffs and then into the Eastern Conference Finals there. And so far, year three, we're seeing 1.3 goals per game, but that still is 15th in the league. We're seeing our expected goals, at 10th. I think. Sorry, if you can go back one.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so we're 10th right now in expected goals per game. Our defense has significantly regressed. We're at 2.3 goals against per game, again, small sample size here, and 14th in the league in expected goals against. So, this was a team that had a really elite offense year one and a solid defense, and has it went to a team that couldn't really score goals, and we're still seeing that happen in year two. So while the defense is showing some worrying stuff in the small sample size here in year three, I will give them the credit that in year two they really figured it out, and that the trend that year 2 and 3 are both really struggling on offense is where we need to focus for tonight.
So Matt Hand says, contrary to your point, it's actually saying we're performing better than 1 point so far this season.
Yes, it's because of Jacksonville.
Okay, fair enough.
Literally, the unfortunate part about doing slides with 3 games in the season is like Louisville, we deserved to lose. This game, we were literally neck and neck. And Jacksonville, we did deserve to win that game, but unfortunately, we did not.
Sure.
Yes. So again, numbers say defense is bad this year. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. The numbers are still saying the offense is not great, and we are going to dive into that. So the big question of the night is, why are we so bad at scoring goals in both 2025 and 2026? So if you want to go next, it all comes down to shots, everybody. For those of you who were in college around the 2008 to 2012-ish area, you will have heard this song an unfortunate amount, but boy oh boy is it all about shots, but not in the way you might expect. And I'm going to be honest, I think I've done a version of these slides before, I think, and we are going to keep rolling on it because it is similar, but I unfortunately repulled everything again. So Matt, if you want to go next slide. So everyone last night kept raving, guys, it's not a bad loss. We got 20 shots. I don't even remember how many, 7 or 9 of them were on goal. Everything's okay. And dare I say that is absolutely not the truth. So 2024, our shots per game were almost 13. We were a little bit above league average there. Our conversion rate was almost 23% above the league average. So that is how many shots it took for us to get a goal. And that is, again, how many shots per goal, 7.93. That is 18% below the league average. So that's great. And we had a 4.28% higher than league average expected goals per shot. So what that's going to really tell you is like the quality of the shots we were getting were above average. So I would say 2024, we were like unbelievably efficient with every shot we took. And boy, oh boy, if you can see these slides, you will see the rest of this is in very much a red category.
A lot of red.
So 2025, our shots per game went down slightly, but really our shot conversion rate went down to a little under 8%. That's almost 32% below the league average. It took us almost 13 shots to get a goal. That was almost 47% more than the league average. And our expected goals per shot went down to a little over 0.1, which was 17% below the league average. And then so far in 2026, we're shooting a bunch. We're at 18 shots per game. which is 47% compared to above the league average. But our shot conversion rate is even lower this season at 7.41, which is 30% below the league average. Our shots per goal is 13.5, which is 43% above the league average. And our XG per shot is 0.09, which is 28% below the league average. So, the people in the chat saying you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I honestly don't know if that's true with this team.
So if we just stop shooting, we'll score more?
We might have a better chance at this point.
So-
maybe the goalie will bonk one off the defender's head and put it in.
You know me, numbers hard, me, gym teacher. You're just telling me that the efficiency has gone like
That is
absolutely plummeted.
Beautiful wrap up.
To put this into layman's terms.
Beautiful wrap up. 2025, 2026. Our shots are horrible. They are just they're both like we're shooting a lot and they're bad. And that's so, which is funny because people keep saying, "Hey, if you just shoot more, you'll score more." I don't know that that's the case.
The casual will tell you the more shots are good, but I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is the 13.5 shots per goal. Obviously, below the league average, in conversion rate on pretty much everything. But if you look at that 7.93 from year one, we basically have to double that to score goals in 2026.
Beautifully said. So I guess it really comes down to, okay, so why are these shots so poor? So if we go to the next slide, we are just not creating big chances. We have just stopped doing that. So 2024, we created 90 big chances. That was 4th in the league. We missed 50. That was ranked 6th. Missing big chances, missing a lot of them is actually a hallmark of a team that's actually performing really well. You are creating so many that you're missing so many, which happened in 2024. And we saw that that year we converted about 44% of our big chances. 2025, it went down to 42. Obviously, different season amount of games in a season, but we were 23rd in the league on creating them. We were 23rd in the league on missing them, and we were right at 45% converting. And then again, so far, 2026, we are 16th in the league on big chances created. We've missed 4 of them. We're at 17th on the misses, and we are converting them at 33%. So very small sample size in terms of conversion, but at the end of the day, the trend kind of follows. It's like the more big chances you create, yes, you'll miss more, but you'll also score a lot more. And it's really dried up over the past 2 seasons in terms of like creating. And to be clear, what a big chance is that is a very clear scoring opportunity for your team. And it's just not happening for Rhode Island FC.
And going back to your earlier points on XG, the better the chance, the higher the XG, hence
Exactly.
seeing the low XG number.
Exactly. You're a math guy.
Hey, that's it. I'm just here to be my be the Robin to your Batman on the numbers.
And to Timmy's point, yeah, Chico is having the time of his life back in Pittsburgh, and yeah,
as Matt Hands called it.
I am noticing. Yeah, that is an unfortunate side effect here, but good for Chico. So Leo had a question in the chat in the Defiance Discord. He said, "Can we please get a deep dive on what the heck happened to our midfield? I've got my personal thoughts, but I'm really curious of yours and what the stats tell you." Leo, I have a sad part of this is I don't have any stats to tell you, but we are going to go into kind of this question goes into my general theme of like what I think is wrong with the offense. And Matt, next slide.
Well, even before you do that, I actually had some notes on this, kind of just based on last night. Clay was 62 of 80% for 78% on his passes, creating 1 chance. Hugo was 47 of 58 at 81%, creating 4 chances. Pitty was 15 of 25 at 64%, creating 1 chance. And Pitty played a very good attacking game. But we've seen from other pundits as well about, the middle of the field looked good. And I don't think that's true. It's 124 of 163 for 76% for those midfielders. They created 6 chances, but going back to your big chances, there was only 2 big chances for that whole match last night.
Mm-hmm.
So our 3 midfielders and kind of being able to link the back to the attack are only creating 2 big chances, 6 chances total, but only those 2 big chances for the match. So I think it goes back to that quality over quantity theme that we were kind of looking at of the last 2. Sorry to steal your thunder heading into this.
No, it's good. I would say, so Leo, I did actually spend probably too much time trying to quantify this. There's actually not a lot, like in terms of like passing percentage, our passing percentage throughout the thirds has actually been very stable across the 3 seasons, and it's actually like very league average across all 3, which I was very surprised. I actually thought that was the first thing I checked, and then it didn't work out, and it took me more time. But folks, we're going to space here, and I think the actual biggest issue with this team is how we utilize space on the pitch. And oh my God, does this slide look horrible? It's really hard to see, but I think on YouTube it looks a little better. Yeah, so this match was a really good clue in terms of like what might be happening here. And the average position for this team is an absolute disaster. So if you're able to see, I don't know why SofaScore did this with the black dots on the black pitch, but every single player on our team is kind of really smushed in little bunches together, really zero ability to try to interact with each other. And the thing that's hard about how to kind of speak about this is we kind of have an issue where we are sometimes way too tight and kind of smushed together like this. And then we also have times where like we have absolutely nobody available to take a pass from the other player, and everyone's just in an acre by themselves. And so I have a couple of clips here. I would say there's only a few. I have a few examples here. There was a ton throughout the game. Hopefully these are able to illustrate the point as we go through it, but we'll get there. So in this clip, you'll see, so Hugo kind of is really blocked off, and he has the ball here, and there's all just Miami players in front of RIFC. It goes out to Aldair on the wing, and again, there's not a single RIFC player who is able to see the ball. Everyone's really bunched up, but there's not a single person available. They have to then go back. It resets back to the defense, and we kind of see the stuff play out that we've seen in the past. It goes to Clay. There's absolutely nobody available now for him to pass to. So Clay kind of panics, rushes, and sends it out to the wing where there is absolutely nobody. Like Scardina has to make a really hard play, and he is able to not get the ball. So this team just does a really weird job where like if everyone's together, no one's available. And then if also sometimes there's no one available at all because everyone has just run the opposite direction.
I think people get mad about the passing backwards, but I think if you look at that and the production value, very well done, Ryan. As Timmy says in the chat, you look at where else is there to pass to, and I think your highlight of players and the lines to players connecting them really showcases that backwards kind of is the only option there.
Yeah, and we'll see that time and time again here. So that was like kind of one that started more from the midfield. If we go to the next one here. So now it's Hugo. Hugo has the ball at defense, and literally people are turning and running away from him. There's no one around him. So Frank gets the ball on the wing. Again, there's not a single person that's available for him to pass to, so he just hoofs it long. And that is that. So we saw a lot of that last night where like either someone, again, the way this team is manipulating space and manipulating the opposition is just like there's just nothing's happening, nothing's available. It's really kind of strange. And again, we're kind of almost like panicking, and it's just like, okay, we'll hoof it up the line and we'll see what happens. So I think the final
Which was
one
a
here,
very interesting take. It was very much, and we didn't even talk about this earlier, but it was very much a JJ tactical game, the way it was executed. But the big missing piece there, JJ out on suspension.
I was unaware of that going into the game. So that is tough. I'm just kidding. I knew JJ. So.
All right, here's the next one.
All right, this is the final one again. So these are all within the same few minutes. But okay, so Pity gets his ball, passes it back to Hugo. Hugo has there's just a wall of Miami around him, and this is Matt. If you could pause actually here. So this is what frustrates me about this team. I don't know if it's going to allow you to do it. Yeah. This is the last one.
I can try to grab it.
If you go to I think it's the next slide actually.
There we go.
Yep. So you'll see here, like, yeah, there's this big block in front of everybody with Hugo. So Matt, if you can pause here somehow, if you could grab the little the thing on the bottom. Oop. We'll work on this. This is my first time using this little software I found, which was definitely very vibe coded. So basically,
you want it before that?
All right. It's a little before. Yeah, it's a little before that. You'll see like arrows pop up.
How's that?
Yes, perfect. So yeah, so this is where I get frustrated. So I think the biggest issue is that you're good. You're good. The biggest issue is that like our players are just kind of standing a lot of the time. They're not moving, and I think the ball finds movement. That's something that a podcaster for the team I also support says a lot. Is the ball finds movement, and you'll see everyone staying there. And like I put some arrows in here that there are all these different options for people to do. So, Grant could have stepped up to give him a square pass. I think Pity could have either run into the kind of the D at the top of the box or pulled his guy away. Because at the end of the day, like when you are a player, you're both manipulating space, but you're also manipulating your man. So like when they have this tight box, people have to do things that gets them out of that box. So, Clay making a darting run into there, Aldair pulling the backside guy away, both Dorsey and Alfonso like making runs either into the box or across the line. Like just you need to create confusion. You need to create like nervousness for the team that something is going to happen. When everyone's standing still, as this is happening here, it just doesn't allow anyone on the team to actually create opportunity for their player. So right now, Hugo has to go try to make a run through the middle himself because no one else is there to do it.
And you're allowing Miami to stand still in these spots and just
What
pretty
a-
much guard
what-
space, guard
yeah.
alleys.
What a like really relaxing place to be as a defense. Like everyone's like, as someone who played defense his entire life, like the best person to defend was someone who just was hanging out. Like, like what a really easy assignment for the day. Like that's why like guarding Steph Curry in basketball is a huge pain in the ass. Like obviously he's unbelievably talented, but he also just doesn't stop moving. Like it's both a physical and mental battle every single game.
Well, a lot of love in the chat, Ryan, and you'll get that as well. Great job on
Well,
these
if you want to keep
slides.
going here,
Great
this does keep
job on
going.
the graphics on this video play.
Yeah, if you keep going here, yep. So cuts to Hugo. They have the box. The lines are going to pop up in a second. It gets worse from here. So yeah, so Hugo breaks into the line. It goes to Pity. Pity gets like just assaulted. We actually have a really good press, but then it gets back. So we're just kind of all a mess. It goes out to Scardina. There's no one to aim for in the box. Obviously, I can give them credit there. But once he gets into here, again, Miami goes back into formation and we have just nobody available. And there's all these different options for people to be able to manipulate the space. And really no one does anything in a time. So he has to go back to Hugo. Hugo then goes back to Frank. And it just kind of like all goes back and recycles from there. So we're really good about getting the ball into the final third, to getting into these kind of situations where we could potentially attack, but we get there and everyone just kind of stands still, or there's not like a really just kind of pinpoint run or pinpoint pass that like allows the team to either put together a couple 1-2s to get into the box, or to create just a clear shooting opportunity, which is why, to kind of go back to the original slide, is why you're seeing our expected goals per shot so low, and why you're seeing this team really struggle to score goals.
Well done, my friend.
Thank you. This is fun. This is fun. I really want to use this more. So please give feedback on these kind of couple slides. I think this is fun. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So again, just tough to watch. Overall, a very mood killing night.
I mean, and the thing that is the biggest issue to me is that these are problems that have been an issue for over a year now. And I just don't know that we've seen at any point over the past, since the beginning of last season, an ability for us to recognize. I think I'm assuming the team understands the problem. Like they know there's a problem. I just don't think we've had even a close ability to target a solution, besides bringing some new players in. But even then, like we're still falling into old habits and old things that are issues. So yeah, I really think this is kind of like the most glaring problem throughout the rest of the season, because at the end of the day, goals pick up points. We have a template that we saw work well for defense last year, but again, offense we never found. So it needs to really work itself out.
And it needs to work itself out soon, as Hartford comes to town on Wednesday, and we are in a rough place to be able to take them on. Any chance you see us advancing to the next round of the US Open Cup?
I did. So I felt, so I've been someone who's actually was really happy with the draw, because I think this is something that could like be a catalyst for this team to spark it. I did unfortunately say Dr. Hartford's coming to town, which I'm sure you wouldn't appreciate. But then I also saw that they are the top ranked team in either FOTMOB or SofaScore today. So that didn't make me feel good. At the end of the day, I think there's going to be a big crowd. I actually might be making my first appearance this season. I'm very excited about that. I haven't really told the world that yet, but if there's something that's going to spark this team and bring kind of the effort and energy, it's going to be a Hartford Derby. I really think there's going to be a big crowd, even though it's on a Wednesday night. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is, not to make the joke I was making, but maybe it is what the doctor ordered.
They just escaped with a draw in Indy, and I don't think Indy's that good of a team this year. So maybe there's something to be had there. I think the defense steps up again. Sean wants me to say something in the chat that I'm never going to say on this episode, and I know my co-host will not either. It's
not approved.
No, not Tide Talk approved. So we will definitely not say it. But
I'm going in to edit Timmy and Hans's blogs as well to just strike it from the record.
I like it. Put a little strike through it. It's perfect. But we'll see what happens. Want to thank everyone who stayed with us. A long one, but a lot of good breakdown. If you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button. But if you see Ryan Wednesday night, buy him a beer, buy him a pretzel, get him his first time in Tidewater this season. Make it a good one.
That pretzel review is gonna, because I would say, like, the chat has been hyping up that the pretzel somehow has improved. Again, I don't know how. It was this. I always talk about high standards on this podcast and how I want to hold this team to really high standards because I believe in them so much. The pretzel stand has been they've always been at that level, and I respect that about them. So the fact that they figured out a way in the offseason to go up a level is something that I think the team needs to look into, because if the pretzel stand could say we're elite, but we could do better, RIFC needs to do the same thing.
That's it. I mean, if they can be elite and get better, RIFC can be mid and get better. The maths on that one.
I would say, like, people, I think there were some like social comments and stuff about, like, is this the lowest? Like, I have to say there is nowhere to go but up, which I probably shouldn't have said out loud when there's a derby on Wednesday.
And we're sitting second to last on the table and not last. So, want to make it known though, if we as a collective Tide Talk listeners buy Ryan 10 Gansets, it's only $40. We can make that happen for sure.
I will say, tip your bartenders.
That's it. Any final thoughts, Ryan, before we sign off on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel great right now. I will say, like, no. I don't think we've been as. I think last year the low points of the season in terms of performances were much lower. I just am very frustrated that we've started the season with such a hole. Like, there was no need to do that. I think, playing the brand new team at your home stadium opening week and not picking up 1 point, I think is just really shameful. I think Miami was there for the taking, and we couldn't get it done. A lot of that was self-inflicted with some red cards we got the week before. So at the end of the day, this team, like, I think they can figure it out. I think a lot of the new talent we brought in is very good, but unless something at the fundamental level doesn't change, I'm just worried that we could see another campaign like we did last year, which was mostly frustrating. But yeah, so that's the upbeat way I'm going to end this podcast.
I'd really like to come on here and talk about a win versus a professional team. That would be nice. That's all I asked for.
I would say the amount of, like, we beat CD Violence and look good. No disrespect for those pals, but they work a day job just like me and you. And I don't know that me and you would be very good playing against RIFC. So
I'm with you on that one. Again, thanks to everyone who joined us. Hit that like button if you haven't already. That'll wrap things up for this one. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on all of your favorite social media apps for daily content. Click the link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts. I've been your host, Matt, for my good friend Ryan. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the tide.
Up the tide.